Please, God.
This is God.
Robert, first of all, it is an honor talking to you. Freddy Krueger has lived in nightmares with audiences for 4 decades. When you first auditioned for Wes Craven, did you ever imagine this role would become such a pop culture fixture?
No idea. I was dealing back then with my first big success on television, a science fiction series called V, right? And that was my very first experience where people had finally put my name to my face. When I did Wes Craven's, I think I did it for the challenge of the makeup and also working with Wes. I was sort of considering Wes kind of like a David Lynch director back then. And also, I think I just wanted to it was so low budget, I just wanted us to get it done and get it out there because I wanted people to see it because I knew we were on to something, but I had no idea. I thought maybe if we're lucky, it'll be a little cult film, you know. I had no idea we'd ever make another one or that it would become this huge franchise of 8 films, you know. And I just knew I was working with talented people. And we were all kind of working, you know, by the skin of our pants, you know, the seat of our pants, as they say, because it was very low budget. You know, things were put together with spit and a prayer, but all practical effects. But I did know we were onto something special.
I love that. Now, the 4K restoration gives fans a sharper look at Freddy, more than they ever seen before. You talked about the makeup. As the man under the makeup, how do you feel seeing that level of detail brought back to life?
Well, I think the real reason to embrace the 4K collection is so many fans, a preponderance of fans, experience Nightmare on Elm Street with a pizza getting cold on a coffee table, you know, and some warm Coca-Cola and, you know, a dog-eared, you know, poorly wound old VHS copy that they'd gotten from a mom and pop video store. And the thing is that's wonderful too. Sharing it with family or an older brother or a kid sister or your buddies in a dorm room, I get that. But if you have a favorite and now to see it pristine, you know, the Rennie Harlan Part 4, shot by Roy Wagner, who actually changed the look of network television with his superb work on CSI. You know, they just look so great. Stephen Hopkins, sort of surreal, M.C. Escher, Nightmare on Elm Street 5 with Lisa Wilcox as the ingenue. That movie just looks incredible. It's very surrealistic and different. And to see it all crisp and brand new, everybody's got the light in their eye. You know what I mean? Everybody's eyes are wet, as we say in Hollywood.
Now, if you could revisit a Freddy film today with new technology or storytelling, which would you pick and why?
Well, I think we would have to go back to the very early ones because as they went along, we were really perfecting the practical effects and introducing sort of new technologies that were coming alive then. I remember seeing, you know, computers and my first playback ever on Rennie Harlan's Part 4. But I would go back and, you know, there's probably a couple of moments in both Part 1 and Part 2 that could use a little CGI.
Well, look, incredible job. Thank you so much for your time. It's an honor speaking with you. Yeah, and I just listened to both commentary tracks on the original film, and they're fantastic. But thank you so much for your time, Robert. It's a pleasure.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Take care. Rachel, it's an honor to talk to you. You had such a versatile career from producing John Waters films to directing Doctor Who, but you also produced Dream Warriors and Dream Masters before stepping into the director's chairs for Freddy's Dead. How did that producing experience help prepare you to direct your own Freddy story?
Oh, there's no way I could have done it if I hadn't been absolutely hand in hand with Chuck Russell and Rennie Harlan on Parts 3 and 4, and hand in hand with John Waters, although a step below all of them in terms of but particularly making Part 3 in particular, it gave me the experience to, I often say everything I know I learned on Nightmare on Elm Street, because we had to do everything from stop motion to people coming in and out of mirrors, which nobody knew how to do in Part 3. And So I couldn't have done it without, and oddly, I was more comfortable with the effect sequences than with working with the actors, which of course terrified me.
Now, Freddy's Dead has this 3D sequence, which was bold at the time. What was the biggest creative challenge or technical challenge in pulling that off?
So we were in optical world, not digital world, and we created a new technology that had never been used before, which is to use color film for the red, green, red, blue anaglyph 3D. So it was, with the budgets of low-budget horror film, it was incredibly challenging. And so doing this 4K upscale, I just want to say, the 3D is because we were able to take the left and right eyes and put them together properly. Suddenly the 3D is amazing. And so it's so thrilling it's like a whole new experience. And it is also the way most people have never seen the 3D. And so the whole pacing of the ending is different because of the 3D, because you have to be slightly slower so your eyes can catch up. And so people have seen this, and the whole thing is desaturated to make the red-green, to make the 3D work. And so nobody's ever really seen it, or very few people have seen it the way it's supposed to be seen. So this 4K upscale is so important to me because not only is it the way we meant it to be, but it's also better than it could ever have been when we made the film.
That's incredible, because I can only imagine how it was in the theater in 1984 watching that first film, and then seeing it in 4K. It's like, oh, this is probably as close as it was at the time. Now, with the 4K release, how do you feel seeing Freddy's films preserved alongside other definitive film collections?
All you can ever say about the success of the Freddy films is who knew,
right?
Except that they're so unbelievably creative on every level. And so, hats off to Robert Shea, to Robert Englund, for creating this franchise that was pure creativity. And that's why they've lasted, because you still look at the nightmares, and we're always interested in turning the nightmares on their side. If you're afraid of bugs, you aren't attacked by 100 bugs, you become a cockroach.
Absolutely. Now, last question I have for you is, if you were offered a chance to direct another Elm Street film today, what new angle would excite you the most about telling the story?
I would make a scarier version again. Like, I feel like we kept away from I think the audience now is quite different and quite savvy, and you can go much further with the horror, and I think it can be scary and funny. I think Weapons does this beautifully. A movie I really admire. I also think the new Final Destination is a remarkable film. But I think, I would aim for, and the idea of using digital technology, but not overusing digital technology, because one of the great things about Nightmare is that things do not work and do go wrong, and it is messy, the effects. I mean, we tried, and we were upset when they were messy, but now that makes them look real.
Yes.
And not if you're too clean and too digital, it looks bullshitty now.
100%. The practical effects still work in those films. They look incredible. Rachel, thank you so much for your time. It's an honor
to meet you.
Pleasure. Jack, it is an honor to meet you. Number one, I'm so happy to be talking about this today. But correct me if I'm wrong, but you were actually on set for the first Nightmare on Elm Street with the scene where the room is rotating with Wes Craven strapped up to a chair. Do you remember that first day you saw Freddy brought to life on set, and what was your reaction?
Well, actually, Freddy wasn't there because it was just the room. But I got invited out. I just happened to be in LA for that time, and I got invited out. And the way that they do it was Wes and the cameraman were upside down.
Sure.
The room, obviously, because she can't really walk on the ceiling. She didn't have that ability as an actress.
Right. So,
the way you make it look upside down. So they're like strapped into these seats upside down for, quite a while. And I thought it was pretty cool. So, yeah.
It's incredible. Now, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 has become one of the most discussed films of the franchise, especially the psychosexual undertones. Looking back, what is your perspective on how the film has been reinterpreted over the years?
I was an English major in college. Everybody's just an English major. What are you going to do with that? It's worthless. But actually, I learned all about story. So,
sure.
I read everything that Shakespeare wrote, and it helps. It helps. And so, I'm always interested in the subtext, but also there's also something called the intentionalist fallacy, which is the fallacy is that the meaning of the work is what the creator of the work intended. And what the fallacy says is the meaning of the work is whatever the audience brings to it, as long as it makes sense.
Sure.
And certainly there's an argument for that, for lack of a better term, for the gay interpretation of the movie, the queer interpretation, and it's now, it's taught in colleges and it's picked up a whole other audience. And I've sort of, been around at conventions where I've been with Mark Patton, who played Freddy, and it means a lot to a lot of people that we made this movie. So it's great. It's it's an unintended consequence, but something that I'm very pleased about.
I love that. I love that. Now, the 4K release gives audiences a new chance to revisit your film with fresh eyes. What details or choices do you hope fans notice as they might have missed the first time around?
Well, it's the same movie, but so there were a few little tweaks. There really wasn't much that we could do with the picture because they scanned it off of the original negative. So
Sure.
You're seeing it as close to the way we shot it as possible. If you saw it in a movie theater or you saw it on a DVD, it doesn't look the way optimally we would want it to look. But now that's the way it looks. There are a few little tweaks like in the opening sequence with the bus going through the desert. One of the things we wanted to do was to make the bus seem demonic. And so
Sure.
we took the grill and the people bended so it looked like it had maybe teeth, and there was supposed to be smoke billowing out of it, but the smoke was pretty lame. It didn't billow at all. It just sort of floated out. But we were able to enhance that a little bit. But also there was one exterior night scene, and I said, let's make it a little darker. And the Warner executive who was overseeing the restoration said, Jack, you should really leave it the way it is, because that's kind of the way it was. And I said, okay, I accept that. That's the film that we made in 1985. And so we're just trying to bring that film that we had in our mind. The real revelation is the sound, because we mixed it in mono, and it's fine. But when you hear it in Dolby Atmos, and now it's not only stereo, but it's like complete. It's not really surround sound. Like, I hate it when you hear a door close in the back of the theater.
Sure.
That's really pisses me off. It's really annoying. But what this does is all of the elements seem to have a discrete sound. So you can hear the music can be playing really loud, but you can still hear all the dialogue clearly. Sure. And all the effects. And there I really had a chance to enhance things, because they had covered all of the sound effects, which are all mixed together. But they had to make a track for foreign releases. So when they dub it, all the sound effects are in there. So I could go in, and if I wanted to make the screeching of Freddy's claws a little more screechy, I could go in and sweeten it with the effect that they had put in. So and like this sequence with the demonic parakeet, which is pretty lame. When you hear it with all the music and the sound effects and the way we heard it in the mixing studio, which nobody has ever heard, it blew my mind. I said, wow, I did a pretty good job on that. It makes me look good,
The film is fantastic, Jack. And look, I'm so happy that we get to revisit it now the way that it's intended to. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, great to talk to you. Thanks very much.